a reason why you're doing this a couple days before the vote. What do you want to have happen in the next few days?
Well, to start the conversation, really, David, I think that this is not a new idea, but it was one that was re-energized during certain people's planks. I then looked at it, and I looked in relation to Bell's Corners, and I looked at the train tracks and the cornfield that is adjacent to Tim Road, and I said to myself, this just makes too much sense. The O train is successful, this track is underutilized, and with regards to the whole transit plan that was laid out, some of it had some holes in it, but the Canada and the Barrhaven line are easily deployable and very reasonable, and as Bill said, solve and complement a lot of the transit problems and is complementary to OLRT. One of our biggest messages here is if you look at the maps, and if you've got LRT coming out to Canada, as everybody knows, in 2034, but it actually serves a different sector of town. Bell's Corners was never supposed to receive any rail service, yet the rails are there. D&D's coming in 4 years, and that's just good planning. And that's something that sometimes at the city, when political will gets behind certain projects, they're very hard to stop. But in this case, this idea makes so much sense that we must embrace it, we must debate it, and we must allow the people to say, yeah, this is a great idea, and have the political masters get behind it.
Are you saying, like, are you framing this in regards to your own attempt to be college councillor? And if you win on Monday, how will you push this idea around the council horseshoe?
I think what's got to happen is the new mayor or the existing mayor has to embrace the fact that this solves some problems and complements LRT. Good ideas should be shared and should be embraced no matter of any political partisanship, and I'm hoping that'll take place here. John, I hope I get elected. It's my first time out, but I have metered expectations. I'll be here for 4 years, and I'll be fighting for this for 4 years because it makes sense and it's a good idea. It's up to the people that we vote in to realize that this is a good idea, and I just hope I'm one of them.
One noticeable absent here is Mike McGuire. He was just here literally like 45 minutes ago. That's part of kind of his transportation rail idea. Have you tried to bring him on board, or what's going on there?
Mike was very aware of our press conference this morning. He had another engagement at 11 o'clock. He had his press conference here at 10, and with the events of the past few days, this press conference was supposed to be held Wednesday at 11 o'clock, but unfortunately was rescheduled. So it's been a really couple of crazy days, but for any comments regarding this, you'd have to ask Mike directly.
If I might add to that, the Moose plan is unlike Mike McGuire's plan in a couple of different ways. His plan is a public sector funded plan. Mobility Automotive Systems and Enterprises is setting up a consortium for a private funded plan. His plan is for a section of the city. Our plan is region-wide. It recognizes that Ottawa is a core part of the greater national capital region. There's very fundamental distinctions in that. So we're not opposed as such. We're not advocating nor opposed to any of the particular candidates' plans. We're simply saying, and to go back to your earlier question, if I can sum it up in a word, what are we looking for? Inclusion. Inclusion of what? Inclusion of Ottawa in the greater national capital region. That's where it is. Inclusion of private sector initiative with public sector initiative. Inclusion of existing infrastructure with new infrastructure investments. And those things are not in opposition.
And if I may add to that too as well, is there is going to have to be a partnership with the city and the NCC to make this all happen. We need a park and ride at Tim Road. We need some access in CART. There's a lot of things that have to be mapped out and properly planned. And again, that all starts with political will. And if there's no political will, then this is just a press conference 3 days before the election that dies on the 28th of October. If not, if logical people and common sense prevails, hopefully we can put politics aside and say, let's use $1 billion worth of infrastructure that gets used once a week to transport our citizens into the core, into light rail, where you need electrified light rail. You can't run heavy diesel through a core, but you can run heavy diesel to Bayview, you can run it to CART, and again, I'd like to share, wouldn't it be wonderful to take a train from Blair Road to the Canadian Tire Centre in probably under an hour? Wouldn't it be wonderful for a D&D employee who's thinking of having to sell their house in Orleans, who doesn't have to sell their house now because they could take a train from Blair Road to their job at D&D in 4 years when they move in? That's good planning. That's what this city needs, and that's all we're trying to provide, you know. And the election platform is the one that we're providing it, to your question, John, because in 3 days, you know what happens. It all goes back to one conversation.
Can I just add a little bit here? You know, we're talking about revitalization, Bell's Corners, many open spaces and empty spaces. Revitalize that. Well, how are you going to revitalize that? Well, one way to revitalize that is by bringing public transit, rail transit, all passenger rail transit to that area, and at no cost to the taxpayer. You know, we're all looking at, and all these other transit companies that I have done projects for, look at ways of reducing costs for their transit projects.
Tell me again how it won't be any cost to taxpayers?
There's an executive summary of our plan there.
Like, there's
No,
one
I
plan
understand.
here,
I can
but
explain.
guys, is this the plan you're endorsing as well?
Let me draw
I'm
the,
endorsing the concept, but go ahead,
let me
John.
draw the parallel. Okay, in Toronto we have ERT, privately funded highway system. They had obstacles to overcome, and as an engineer and vice president of engineering, my teams never looked at problems. We always looked at opportunities when these obstacles came our way for finding solutions, innovative, low-cost solutions for our customers. And I think the proposal here is something that can happen within the next 5 years. We don't have to wait 20, 30 years.
Let me explain
At
very,
no
very
cost.
simply on that. OC Transpo and STO have a municipally funded bus transit system. In addition to that, there's private sector buses that come in from Rockland and from Lasham and so forth. There is no conflict between those two bus systems. In addition to that, you've got the O-Train, you've got OLRT. There is also a private sector transit plan to not step on the toes of municipalities, but to complement the various municipalities' transit plans. Ottawa's, Gatineau's, Arnprior's, Smith Falls, and so forth, because I can tell you from the area of Smith Falls, there's 45,000 cars a day coming into downtown Ottawa. That's a bad thing for Ottawa. So what's good for Smith Falls can be very good for Ottawa too, and then there's 6 directions, so just do the math on how many cars are just coming in from that distance into downtown. The City of Ottawa has no mandate to deal with all those problems beyond its borders. But a private sector approach, collaborating with the municipalities, and certainly an open market collaborative approach in the private sector. So it's not, we're not talking about a railway monopoly. We're not trying to be the railway barons of the capital. Okay? It's an open consortium approach. That private sector role can link up the transit systems of all the municipalities that we're dealing with in the capital, including us. So we see no conflict there. There is no conflict.
And there is no impact on it replacing LRT 1, LRT 2, or LRT 3. It's a complementary service that can be implemented in stages very quickly. And a very positive impact on parts of the city that badly need it.
Any other questions, gentlemen?
Thanks, guys.
Great, thank you very much for your time.
for coming out.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Yeah,
John.
thanks a lot, John. David. Oh, David.
It was nice to meet you.